What's up, guys? It's your boy coming back with another video. So this one's going to be short. It's not going to be polished like the last couple were because I'm in a hurry. We got to get on up the road, make something shake, you know, and let the old girl eat. But I just seen a comment, you know, question, idea about video ideas, and he asked me what I thought about risk taking, and you know, I never really thought about, you know, risk taking as, you know, something that some people just aren't willing to do. But the more I think about it, the more I realize that's why I am where I am. It's part of the reason, you know, and that's part of the reason that, you know, you guys are where you are, and, you know, we're all on the same journey here and on the same page. So there's a difference between taking a risk and just jumping out and risk taking. So when you take a risk and you make it a calculated risk, you know, that your reward, your benefit and your reward outweighs possible consequence. And what I mean by that is, if I have, say I got $100 to my name, like that's all I got is $100, and somebody calls and says, let's go to the casino. Well, that's a major risk. And there's no way to calculate that risk where your reward outweighs the downturn. Like, your risk to reward must be way, way high, in my opinion. And now the risk of losing that $100 against the chance of you winning $1 million is so far apart that risk, it's no longer a risk. It's just a dumb idea. Like, let's be blunt here. That's just a dumb idea. So, you know, in my life, in my business mindset, my thinking, my actions, you know, I take a lot of risk. I'm a huge risk taker. You know, and sometimes I really, not so much lately as I used to, but the risk to reward factor was not a key part of my decision making. It is now, you know, but it wasn't. You know, and even when I started this company, I don't think I really grasped the risk I was taking, you know, because I started at, you know, 30 years old, 31, and I had a job my whole life, so I was like, oh, I can just go back to get a job if I fail. Well, that's not quite the only risk. You know, that's not the full extent of this risk to reward deal you got going on. The risk of starting this is way up here, but your reward of success is like 10 times this level. So even looking back today and outweighing my risk to reward, I would still do it. Now, if you're not willing to take a risk, there's a good chance that you're not going to have that one thing that sets you apart. Like, look at these inventors. You know, they don't hit it the first time. Not all business owners make it the first time. You know, there's some that are lucky enough to come back. The problem with starting a business is you're essentially using all your resources. You know what I mean? So if you deplete all that money If you borrow from a bunch of people and don't pay it back, it can ruin you as a person in your life. So I 100% am a risk taker, and I don't know how you can be a successful person or a business owner and not taking a risk. And now there's definitely levels of a risk, so if I work at job A and I look at job B and it pays $10 more an hour, that's a risk, but it's a lower level risk, because if you don't go to that $15 an hour job, you still have the 10. And 9 times out of 10, if you're good at what you're doing, you don't have to worry about it. You'll be able to get a job. You'll keep a job. So the only thing in life that is constant, and I've said before, is change. In order to get drastic change, we need to risk some stuff. So if you look at the world today, the risks people are taking are through the roof. And some of them have very little reward to your chance of hitting that risk. Like, it's just not worth it. So if you're thinking about doing something that's a risk, that could possibly be a risk, you need to research. You need to put pen to paper. What is my risk? What are my rewards here? How can I make this work? Is this worth me making work? Like, that's the biggest part of the decision making. Will my outcome be worth it if I win? And unfortunately, there's a lot of times when you may not win, but you may have to go back and take another risk.
Proceed to highlighted route.
As I've said, you cannot succeed and not take that risk. Not taking a risk is staying at a job. It is not dreaming, not fulfilling your dreams, not progressing your energy and using those actions that I talked about in the other video to chase it. You have to have something to push you to the risk. Like, why are you making that decision? What is beneficial in that decision? If it's what we do, you can have more freedom, you can make more money at times, you are your own boss, and just life is grand. Like, that's part of the risk we take. That is the reward to the risk we take to get into this business. It is not easy, and quitting a guaranteed paycheck for this is not a risk a lot of people are willing to take. They're just not. And that's why our failure rate is so high. But when you go to take this risk, I am sure, like, I would bet money that you took your time. You really calculated this. You looked at every single option, every angle. What can I do to minimize my risk, right? So that's what they call the planning and pre-planning stage. So once you get to the point to take that risk, you must follow the same idea and thought process that you had when making this decision. Because like that, something can change. So your head must be on a swivel in order for you to successfully take that risk. And you know, all the big guys today are riskers. Like, everybody that's got anything has taken a risk. And I can say that because, in my opinion, the people that are rich that had it handed to them, they're probably not getting richer because they're not taking that risk. Like, I gave up a guaranteed paycheck to do this. You know, that was hard. Most people won't, as I said. So, your risk is brought on by your determination. Your determination is brought on by your willingness. Your willingness to be determined to take and succeed at a risk. You're not going to take a risk if you don't see a big benefit or success at the end. And unfortunately, a lot of people just cannot grasp that concept. You know, I got a good buddy I talk to all the time. He's not a huge risk taker. He's just not. Maybe one day he'll get up, go to work, and take a risk. Maybe. You know? But he's got his own business, so he took that risk of starting the business. So, as human beings and people, we are taught to want to know your end result. Like, there's a guy I talked to that he's scared to jump in because nobody, and you guys know I ain't gonna do it, will guarantee him that he can succeed, can guarantee him he can easily get the freight. No, there is no guarantee. If you don't get out there and take a risk, I promise you, you ain't gonna get it. I promise you. Like, you must risk everything. Everything. In order to make that happen. That's my opinion. So, when starting this, you must be willing to risk it. Risk it all. But you have to make sure you're not the only one that's willing to risk it. If your spouse is not willing to risk it with you, if they're not a risk taker and do not trust you, then you may have a bigger problem. So, just be leery, beware, be conscious that everybody's going to take risks. You have to. What determines the outcome is the risk to reward factor. So, guys, that's my opinion on taking a risk. I'm willing to do it. I do it all the time. I book cars that I probably shouldn't book, but my risk to reward factor is so high that when I finally get it on there, it's worth the risk. I do it all the time. So, if you guys have any questions, you already know, holler at your boy. Like, share, subscribe. Send me an email. Go to the website. You can go to JD Factors, get your money the next day. You can go to Victoria, save some money on fuel with the RTS fuel card. But until then, like, share, subscribe. Hit that ding ding. And I will see you tomorrow. Peace.